So I spend a lot of time talking about really deep and meaningful subjects with horses, their emotions, their behavior, how to train them. But when I offered to make a tutorial about caring for my horse's hair, all of you got really interested in that. And instead of resisting that, I'm just going to go with it. So this is a tutorial about how I care for his long hair. Firstly, this horse naturally grows really long hair. He's genetically predisposed to it. But if I didn't care for it, it would be a whole lot thinner and shorter than it currently is. And throughout the lifetime that I've had this horse, his hair's been different kind of lengths. The longest I ever got it was like down to here. It got down to his knee once, when I was really consequent and disciplined with the care. Last summer, I was less consequent and disciplined. I was just way too busy. So I didn't actually have time to care for it properly, and I lost a lot of length and a lot of thickness as well. So I'm going to show you what I do, how I reset his mane. Why do I care for his hair? Because I'm interested in horses meeting their full potential, and that will include everything from their behavior to the way they look and what their hair looks like, and caring for them properly. And also, it's undemanding time I get to spend with him, and undemanding for myself. It's a little bit like knitting or painting or drawing. It's just like something I can do which doesn't require much like mental thought and just like boring repetitive action. So that's kind of nice. So his hair is really about 5 or 6 days overdue to be reset. And the weather we're having at the moment is exactly the kind of weather which will cause hair to break, get thin, and become shorter. We're having, you know, quite dry periods. Like right now it's really dry, but last night was raining really crazy. So it's going dry, wet, which is really hard on keratin structures. And same thing happens in the summertime, because the humidity of summer plus the heat can cause the hair to get really brittle and break. When you braid the hair, you bunch the hair together, and it stops the hair inside the braid from actually breaking, getting shorter and thinning out. So you're getting it longer because the braid stops the hair from going down and touching parts of the body and breaking on contact with parts of the body, because the braid kind of bunches the hair up and curls it up and allows it to go longer inside the braid. And then when the hair goes straight, it's actually longer. So you'll notice that his hair here is shorter compared to his hair here. And if I'm not careful, his hair will be really thick until this point, and then really thin from here down, because from here down is when it touches his shoulder, and the contact with the shoulder can actually cause the hair to break if it's not protected. And up here, where it's near his head, if he was to graze, the hair actually touching the surface of trees or the ground or the grass can also cause it to break and get short. So yeah, I'm going to show you what I do, and I'm going to do like the maximum version of it. And yeah, I hope it's helpful for you. So these are braid bags. My mum made these for us. They are made out of shower curtains. Shower curtain is an ideal material for a braid bag because it's waterproof, it's light, and it's durable. The idea is to put the braid inside the bag to give extra protection against breakage, because this is protecting, but as you can see, the braid will fray and get loose, and then these loose strands are exposed to damage. So when they're inside the braid bag, that won't happen. So the first step for me is to take off the braid bags and show you the difference between braid bagged braids and non-braid bagged braids. Okay? So you can see the difference between what was in the braid bag and what wasn't. So if we compare these two, you can see which one was getting superior protection compared to the other. That's really clear. So that's the benefit of the braid bag. If you leave them in for too long, they can start to break above the tie-off point. So I don't leave them in for longer than a week before I take them out and reset them. I'm 4 or 5 days over. So again, it's a problem of discipline. So, you know, if I had a full-time groom, I'd be able to take care of this properly. But yeah, so far no one's been able to braid my horse's hair to my satisfaction, so it's something I'm quite possessive about. You can see at the end of the braid bag, sometimes they curl up inside. That's just good news because it means the hair's growing longer inside the bag. So next step is to brush out the braids that you've got. Normally we're going to be using a detangler. This is Car and Day and Martin's mane and tail detangler. It's the best. It's so good that sometimes I will water it down at a ratio of 2 to 1, 1 part Car and Day and 2 parts water. At the moment, because of the really harsh weather that we've got, I haven't watered it down. I've got it in its purest form. And of course, my spray bottle is broken. Doesn't work. And this horse isn't bothered about the spray. The thing he doesn't like about conditioner is the smell. And after many, many hours spent with him on his hair, it really is down to the smell. He doesn't mind the spray. It's a little irritating, but he really hates the smell of conditioner. So he's a little bit resistant towards that. So what can I do? But what do you do if your spray bottle is broken and you need to put conditioner on the hair? Well, I'm going to show you. I don't need to show you how to operate a spray bottle, do I? I mean, if I have to show you how to operate a spray bottle, we've got problems. But just in case you too have a spray bottle that's not working, this is what I do. So I take out the thing, and I'm very careful, and I dip, and I dunk the whole braid inside the conditioner as high up as I can go. And then as I take it out, I hold my fingers gently over the bottle tip, just so that any excess is going back inside the bottle. This is something I learned in Poland when I was caring for his hair in like -12 outside, and it was too cold for the spray bottle to work, like it was freezing inside the nozzle. So this is what I did. I got a water bottle and I did like a dunking arrangement. Be really careful when you're using mane and tail conditioner, because it makes your hands really slippery for a while. So if you're getting in your car to drive home from the stable after doing this, you might find your hands really slippery on the wheel. So please don't operate heavy machinery after using Car and Day and Martin's. There we go. So you get the picture. Ideally, what I would be doing now is washing the hair. So shampooing it. And when you shampoo the hair, don't focus on shampooing the ends, focus on the roots. Because if the roots are clean from dirt and debris and sebum, dead skin cells, the hair grows faster, grows longer. So one of the biggest secrets for longer hair growth is keeping the roots of the hair really, really clean. But again, it's winter time. It's not nice for me to be washing my horse's neck and mane with cold water at the moment, so I'm not doing it. But in summer, this is what I do. I would be washing it. And in winter, you just do the best you can. Even more reason to use extra protection on the hair during the winter, because you can't protect it from the roots. You have to protect it from the outside in. Notice as I'm getting closer to his head with the conditioner, he's like, oh, that stinky stuff. Those of you who are following me online, Sunny had his tooth extraction 3 days ago. So I'm not training him at the moment, just giving him some time. So, can you step over? Thanks. And so doing his hair is a perfect way to spend time with him that's undemanding for him and for me. I don't know if it's undemanding for me because my back gets sore when I'm braiding. Another golden rule with caring for the hair is the more braids you have, the better. It's better to have like 10 small narrow braids than like 5 big fat thick ones. Like I could have turned these 2 into 1 braid, but when I've got more time in my hands, which is not often, I will do more braids rather than less, because this is a lot more effective at getting longer growth and better protection. Okay, back to chat. So that's the conditioned aspect. Of course, I reiterate, ideally I'd be washing the hair all the way through through, drying it, and then spraying in the conditioner and then brushing it. But this is, let's say, winter version. If you want, I can do a summer version later in the year. So the next step is to take out the braids. I use, at the moment, electrical tape and my hands are slippery. I use electrical tape to take the braids out because elastic bands can put pressure on the hair and cause it to break where the elastic's making pressure on the hair. So elastic bands can actually cause the hair to get shorter rather than longer. If you do use elastic bands, the best ones are silicone. Don't use rubber, use silicone elastic bands. So if you're looking to buy braid ties, you want to look for 100% silicone braid ties. So I have used silicone braid ties in the past. At the moment, it's easier and best for me to use electric tape. I'm going to use my fingers because I've got no fingernails, and this is of course slippery with conditioner, so excuse me. There we go. Usually it comes off, doing the influencer thing. Usually it comes off in like a whole tube. So when I'm going through like a phase with my training, when I don't really have a lot of time to prepare the horse, having him in braids, in braid bags, makes preparation for training and riding so much easier, because I just kind of bunch the bags up, get them out of the way of the reins, and off I go. And because I'm riding in the middle of nowhere, nobody cares what I look like. But when I'm riding for like taking photographs, or when I'm going to go riding with people, sometimes I'll take all the hair out and I'll put it like a long running braid, which keeps the hair out of the way. It's really good for the top line as well, because it kind of balances all this weight up on top of his neck. And that will be maybe a separate video, how to braid the running top line. Next step is to take the braids out. So detangle and then brush them out. So take the braid out and then you want to brush it. In my opinion, this is the best braid brush on the market. It's from a company called Oster. In Europe, you can get these really easily and for not a lot of money at Decathlon. And as you can see, the bristles are quite long. They're 2 centimeters or an inch long. They're well spaced apart, and you've got the plastic nubs on the top. You want to keep this as clean of debris and hair as possible, and I'm not the best example of that in this moment. Every now and then I will put this on wash. You can put it in a dishwasher, that would be great, but I don't have a dishwasher at the moment. But these are the best. And so there's definitely a technique when you're brushing the hair if you want the hair to stay long. So what we don't do is pull the mane. You see this a lot with racehorses and warm bloods. They pull the mane to make it short, and this has been proven to cause a lot of bruising in the muscles along the neck. So you don't want to pull the mane. So you want to start at the bottom. And if your brush catches on a knot, which mine just did, I stop and I lift it out. I don't pull through it. And if the brush can't get through the knot, then you come in with your fingers and you undo the knot with your fingers. So you start at the bottom and then you slowly, successively, work your way up like that. So I like to brush it one braid at a time rather than all of it together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. Yeah? Okay, so I brushed the hair out, and you'll notice Sunny's got like a whole sort of colour thing going on. Up here he's a little bit dirty, not completely dirty, but a little bit. And as I said, ideally I'd be washing the hair first. But his actual colour is a mixture of white blonde and black hairs. It's like a silver thing going on. And up here you'll notice he's sort of dark brown because adjacent to his neck fur, he actually grows these short, sort of bristly, dark brown hairs that don't grow very long. They only grow to about here. So they're mixed in, and traditionally someone who's really, really interested in presenting their horse, they'd come in and they'd take those bristly parts and they'd like trim them out. I don't bother with that. I'm about preservation. So you can see, brushed out the hair, it's conditioned as much as I can. If you had a spray bottle, you'd be getting a spray bottle in here and be spraying the roots with the conditioner as well. But my spray bottle's broken, as I said, but if you had a spray bottle that worked, that's what you'd do. Okay, so like the actual braiding part. So as I said, you want to make sure that you do many thin braids rather than less big, fat, thick ones. So I'm going to do as many as my patients can handle. The most I've ever done on his mane was 14 little braids up. We'll see how many we get done. My grandma taught me how to plait when I was 4 or 5 years old. So when I do this, I think about my nana, because she taught me how to do that. So that's like a little nice thing for me. And something I like to do, because I don't always like to have his hair in the bags, because the bags look disgusting. They're really effective, but they look gross. If you don't want to use bags, something else you can do that can increase the protection of the hair inside the braid is to braid string into the end of the braid. Because what this does, if you have string sitting in the end of the braid, the hair kind of twists around the string, and in the string, because it's, you know, much tougher than the hair, it kind of protects the hair right at the end of the braid rather than thinning out towards the end. It kind of protects it at the end. So sometimes you'll see me with string braided into his hair because it just protects the thinning out of it at the very end. So what I'm going to do today, I'm actually going to braid the string in, and I'm going to bag him because we've got a week of rain coming out, so it's like protection bonanza today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut various lengths of string. It doesn't have to be too precise. This is just nylon string. Nylon's going to be better than cotton because it's more resistant to water. I'm going to kind of estimate how many I'm going to need. I have actually reused the nylon string sometimes. Maybe because I'm talking, Lachlan, you can put it not in your mouth, but down there. There we go. Or, because he's a good horse, up here. So this part I'll probably speed up again. So I'm going to start at the end. This one here, I'm not going to put into a braid bag because it's pretty thin and small anyway. And when you get the hair, you want to try and get your bunches as even as possible. But if one of the bunches, if they thin out before you get down to the end, don't worry because there's an easy way to fix that. And to braid hair properly for preservation of length, you want to braid it all the way to the end. Even if you're braiding like single strands of hair, you have to braid it all the way to the end. And these strings really help you to do that if the hair gets too thin too quickly. So here, this bunch is much thinner now than this bunch. So watch, I separate that bunch. I leave a little bit more for that middle bunch behind. And I continue, and now I've evened out the braid again. Okay, and so from this point on, I'll braid in the string. So I put it behind on the outside, the left and right, and I braid it straight in. I'll just give it a tug, make sure it's nice and tight. You want to braid the string in as tight as you can, because if the string gets stuck in a fence or a tree branch, it can pull on the braid. So you see how the hair's ending in some places, but because of the string, I can continue to go all the way down to the end. So that's about as far as I can go. And you could even cut off these little bits at the end if you wanted to be really persnickety. Okay. So just wrap the electrical braid around a few times. Break it off. That's one of 475 to do. Okay, next one. I used to keep this horse in a sort of a jumping stable that was sort of, you know, some of the shine had gone out of it. They still had some competitive jumpers there, but it was mostly the horses that remained at the stable were retired, and so it used to be a really competitive jumping stable, and now they were sort of transitioning into like a recreational yard, but there were still a few people there who really thought that they had it as terms of jumpers and stuff. And can you imagine me with this horse in that environment, spending 4 hours in minus 12 degrees to braid his fucking horse with string and braid bags? They thought I was completely mad. But because I don't need anyone's approval to take care of my animal the way I want to do it, it didn't really bother me. I just moved to the other side of Europe. Okay. Braiding in the string. Brill is so mad that he can't get. He's so mad. Sorry, Brill. It's cruel. Okay, so remember, you've got to braid all the way down to the end. You know that there's that meme that floats around on Instagram and Facebook that's like me zooming in on pictures of my friend's horse's feet to check out the feet condition? Well, I do that, but I do that with braids as well. So if someone's braiding up their horse, I zoom in and see, do they braid to the end? No, they didn't braid to the end. They're not really helping. It's not really going to get longer. The people who really taught me how to get the hair longer and in better condition were actually people who ran a gypsy cob stud in Poland. And you know, gypsy cobs, they have like really, really long hair and lots of feathers, and I just sort of went over to their place one day and I asked them, because all their horses, they were in like good physical, emotional condition and behavioral condition, but their hair looked really good. And I said, well, how do you do it? And then they sort of sat me down and they explained to me how they did it. They also ran like a horse cosmetics company, so they made their own conditioner and shampoo. So of course they sold me conditioner and shampoo, but they sort of really gave me some really good tips. So at the top of the braid, I try not to pull it too tight, because then you can actually pull it out by the roots. You want to give it a little bit of like wiggle room at the top. So I give it a little bit of a softer braid there, and then once I'm a couple in, then I go quite tight. And if you zoom in on what my fingers are doing here, you can see something that's really easy to miss, but it's really important. If you watch, I actually smooth down the top of the hair with my thumb as I go. So I smooth that down as I go, because you know how hair is made, it's like scales, and if the scales are like pointing up, that can contribute towards breakage. So if I'm like running my fingers over it every now and then and kind of smoothing the fibers and the scales on the actual hair strands down, it actually keeps the hair in better condition and you lead to less breakage. When you're brushing the mane out, when you're resetting, you will lose some hair. So you'll be brushing the hair out and hair will be coming out in the brush. This is normal because hairs die and they shed all the time. And one of the things that happens when the horse is braided up is that they can't naturally shed the hair, because any hair that would have died anyway is stuck inside the braid. So you have to take that out. You have to take the dead hair out of the mane. So it's sort of like thinning out a rose bush. It's not necessarily that you pulled it out or that the braids caused it to come out, because the hair is going to die and shed anyway. Our hair dies and sheds anyway. Our skin dies and sheds all day. So you kind of have to do that because the mane doesn't do it for itself. Sometimes what I will do, if I don't really don't have time, I'll undo the hair the night before, let it overnight to kind of shed itself naturally, and then like the next morning then I'll braid it up because it's a little bit faster then. So going all the way to the end. No, okay. So diet's really important as well if you want better mane, better tail, and also better hooves. And you'll see a lot of like supplements on the market designed to like improve the hoof or grow the mane and tail. Essentially, all of those supplements are some form of biotin and usually other associated B vitamins. Biotin is a B vitamin, obviously. But if you're supplementing with biotin and the horse doesn't have adequate protein intake, then the biotin's basically a waste of your money. So you want to make sure that your horse has adequate protein intake, not just buy a nice hoof or hair supplement. So, you know that I work with a nutritionist, and she balances his diet according to his hay to make sure he gets adequate protein intake. And times when I haven't done that, when I was figuring that out on my own, it was really difficult for him to change the fur, because fur requires protein. And it wasn't a Cushing's thing, hey? It wasn't a metabolic issue. It was a diet issue related to not enough protein. And you'll notice horses with really distended bellies can sometimes have low protein intake as well. So you want adequate protein. You can make sure they've got their biotin, B vitamins, and that's adequate to make sure the hair is growing nutritionally. Again, you want to make sure you're keeping the hair really clean as you can from the roots. So as soon as it's warm enough for me to give him like a root wash, that's what I'll do. And again, I'm not focusing on washing down here. I really focus on up there. And you want to get the roots as clean as possible when you can get them as clean as possible. If you have a hot wash at your stable or something and you can dry them out without keeping them outside in cold conditions with a wet horse, then please do. Also, if you're rugging your horses, you want to be really careful, because if I rugged him, the rug's going to like cut all of this. So if you're going to rug the horse, better to braid them first and put braid bags on. But rugs can be good. If you've got the right kind of rug around the neck, it can actually stop the hair getting wet and dirty and exposed to the elements, so that's another level of protection as well. But on some horses, the rug can actually cause it to rub and come out, but on other horses, the rug can actually protect it. So if you're going to rug, I would make sure I'm spraying conditioner all along here, so on the outside, so that the rug is sliding against the hair rather than abrasion on it and causing it to break. Okay, I think we'll go for time lapse now, and I'll just get this done. So the braids are done. It only took me 400 hours. So now, of course, I'm going to cut off the extra string, and at the same time, helps if you have sharper scissors, but it's okay. At the same time you cut off the extra string, I'm also taking off anything really frayed or broken at the end of his hair, because then it's getting thicker rather than just longer and stragglier. And of course, be very careful with horses that are likely to jump around a bit. Be very careful anytime you're holding scissors. If you wanted to be more careful, you could be cutting facing this direction, because then at least the pointy end of the scissors is not focusing towards their face and their eyes. Sandy's got to that point where he just kind of goes and has a nap while I do this, which is one of the reasons why I like to do it, because it's like quiet time with him, which is perfect activity to do when he's convalescing after major dental surgery. Okay, buddy. So you could leave it like this, and you could turn the horse out like this, and that would be quite good protection. But if you want the braid bags, then that's even more protection. And I don't have like braid bags for all of them, so I just focus on the longest sections here. These sections here, they look that they're about this long, but were his hair to be washed and dried and then straightened again, it would probably come down to about here at the moment. Maybe I can get my mum to talk about the creation of the braid bags now? What do you reckon? Yes. He told the animal communicator that when they began doing the filming, when we began filming, he hated the camera, and now he's okay with it, and he talked to Caleb about it. It's like, don't worry, you'll get used to it, sort of thing. Okay. This is my mum.
Hi everyone.
My mum's visiting from Australia. Smile.
Hi.
And Mum, how did you make these braid bags? Why don't you talk to us about it?
Well, the first thing is I decide what fabric to use. And
what fabric did you use?
Well, I ended up using shower curtain,
yes.
Fabric shower curtain, not plastic or PVC. You want actual fabric nylon. Because it's a little water resistant, being a shower curtain, and it's very hard wearing. So the next step is to work out how big they are before you start cutting the fabric. So you need to work out, take a measurement from the top of the braid to the bottom, allow a little bit of space at the bottom because hopefully they're going to grow. And then for the main part of the bag, and you also want to make sure that the bag is wide enough that it's easy to put the braid in. So you don't want to make them narrow because then it's a real faff, as we say, trying to get them in. So you want to just be able to have the braid and the bag just go straight up.
And this is inside out.
I've got this inside out for demonstrating. So what you want to do, you need a friend with the sewing machine, and it's just a basic square with overlocked edges to the tie position. Then these ties are just overlocked around each single edge so they don't fray.
And that's it?
And that's it. It's that simple. And Lockie can put them on. Demonstrate how, and you can see Sandy's due for some new ones. So the hardest thing is really the fashion, because choosing the right colour, and this wasn't ideal.
No.
The stripes are a bit out there, but
yeah.
I'm trying to look for something a bit more dignified for him now, but it's hard. So much of the fashion.
Brown would be good.
Yeah,
or black.
No one has brown shower curtains off.
Why not?
They don't.
Or black.
They're all flowers or shells.
I'm sure we could get black somewhere.
Yeah, so the fashion is a real struggle.
Okay, so as I'm putting it in, sometimes it curls up inside, so I'm just working my fingers until it's long. And I've done a double knot up the top, and that's it.
So your tie sections really want to be, that's about 12 centimetres, a good 12, maybe 15 centimetres, so you've got space to tie the double half hitch.
And let's just show them how I'm tying it off. So I come with my finger through the braid at the top. I mean, I know this is obvious, but still. This is an obvious tutorial, isn't it? Comes through, 1, 2. And then you just check, make sure it's not curled up inside. There.
Lockie, that's another reason to make the bags a little bit wider, so if the braid gets bent up, you can shake it straight.
So if you do this, you too can fence off many questions. People saying, what's that? What do they do? What are they for?
Now these ones were made about 2.5 to 3 years ago.
Yeah.
In Poland, when Lockie was still in Poland. And have they been washed, Lockie, do you think? I'm not sure. Anyway.
I'm going to say yes, just because maybe it's disgusting that I haven't. But
they're due for replacement now.
Yeah. You want more hay? Go on then. No, thank you. We'll have a hog domain. Imagine how much training we could get done. I'm not fucking doing this all the time. Okay. Done. And a very well earned sending him back.